So this was cast by myself in wood, and I ran into a problem with that with the casting because as it cured, it I read about this but I ignored it, but it bubbles the air out of the wood in the curing process, and I have trickles of bubble from this point going up and distorting all of this detail. But um, the original one was a plastic squeegee handle, and of course the components fit through the center of it. There's six um, wire connectors in here, two on this side for the thumb piece. These are clamped in. They are simply, from what I can determine, as pieces of rulers, just cut plastic rulers, because you can see the notches, which I did here with imitating them. But again, in looking in hindsight, I probably should have made this out of a solid piece of PVC, which would have eliminated all those bubbles in the finished product. There is a rod on the little finger piece, and there's a rod on the thumb piece, which is bent at an angle and inserts into the wrist piece. Now, my finished product, this probably should have been out at about this angle to allow for that expansion of the hand. This should have been out way more over here, because in the glove, in the stills of the photos from the TV show, it's actually pushing on the outer side of the thumb, trying to push that into the plane of the other four fingers. But nonetheless, it turned out as a good first try. The wiring here, initially I bought something that was too thick, and what should be used is just a general striped wire that's either 26 AWG size or 28. I also purchased 30, which is way too thin. But something along the line of this 26, 28 AWG works well. The springs on the top are stainless steel, easily found, and they're 3/8 of an inch outer diameter by about an inch and a half long. This particular one's an inch and 3/4, but an inch and a half long looks like it would work best. And then at the very tip, I just opened the last spring piece as it was finished, stuck the wire through, let it clamp it naturally, and then clipped off the end. So that just worked out very easy. This rod piece here is a galvanized 10-penny nail that is inserted into kind of an aluminum round piece and then glued in. And then there's some kind of a cut, almost like a washer around here. So I did the best I could with imitating what they had in the show, but that's glued on also. The rod here is that rounded aluminum again, and the rounded aluminum again here, which of course these insert into the springs. But in the middle, there is a round ball, which I believe to be, from the images of the TV show, a hinge. And I think that this rod here collapses. It snaps shut. So whatever it was something that would open and close shut, and that's the hinge. So I just made a ball of epoxy there, painted it gray, and it imitated the hinge. But the angle again here needs to be further out if I do this again. I can't identify these discs, which on the RPF forum were of great discussion. Some people thought they were pieces of a wristwatch, like the backing of a wristwatch. But what I ended up doing was getting 1 1/4 inch OD kind of plates that are dog tags. The holes are of course tucked in to here, so you can't see the holes. But drilled a hole in the center. These come relatively cheap, 5 in a pack. Usually people stamp things on here, and then on the dog's collar or cat's collar it goes, and that works out well. On the other side of this piece here, on the reverse side, have the 5 lights, which are drilled in and then fed through, all the way through and into the sleeve here. And these lights look like this. They're very inexpensive. They're 5 millimeter lights. They come in a pack of 10 for under $10. And you can get a pack of 10 that blink, or you can get a pack of 10 that are steady. Of course, there are 5 here that blink, which you can't see on this photo. If you look at the episode, though, the original episode, one of those never blinks anytime it's used in the episode, and that's the second from the left. I believe that when they cast it, they had a problem, and of course, once it's in resin, you can't do anything with it. But nonetheless, all the 5 here blink. Then 4 of these that are non-blinking are under the wrist, under the sleeve piece, to backlight from the wrist up, and are fed under my stand that I have it on to 9-volt batteries. So, can't identify the discs, but I did the best I can. Dog tag blanks. This, which I'm grateful immensely to the people on the forum, is a T1 telephone receiver that you can find in old telephone handsets. There's no wiring connected to it. It sits in there and makes contact with 2 kind of springy pieces of metal. But they're easy to find, dime a dozen. And there's slightly different versions, but this specifically is a T1. And if you take the old telephone handle with the coiled cord that comes off down to the unit, you unscrew either the earpiece or the mouthpiece, and you'll find T1s in there. I poured epoxy in this, prefacing immersing it in the mold so that no air bubbles would come out. I already eliminated the air bubbles, but I ran into the fact that there were air bubbles coming out of the back of it that I didn't anticipate, and they were, of course, in the mold. One of the things I ran into was that if you take resin epoxy and you mix a small amount, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 ounces,